Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is your shortcut to being truly well-informed, and today we've got some really engaging insights for you.
Yeah, we're plunging into what it actually means,
Mm-hmm.
to cultivate strength, individuality,
Mm-hmm.
success, especially now with all this information overload and shifting norms.
Exactly. And our mission today is to unpack ideas from a really fascinating source.
That's right. It's a recent, pretty extensive interview with Robert Greene. We probably know him, international best-selling author,
Oh yeah, the power guy?
the power guy, the seduction guy, one of the world's most respected thinkers on all that. Power, seduction, war.
His books are almost cult classics, aren't they?
Totally. He calls them cult books himself. They've got this intense following. Billionaires, CEOs,
Yeah.
rappers like Jay-Z, Drake.
Didn't he work with 50 Cent?
He did. Co-authored a book with him, Strategy and Fearlessness.
And isn't there that story about his books being banned in prisons?
Yeah, that's true. Gives you an idea of how potent people think his ideas are.
So why, though? What makes them so disruptive?
Well, I guess they teach strategies for navigating power, human nature, self-mastery. Maybe in a prison setting, that knowledge feels, well, dangerous to the established order. Could make people too insightful, maybe.
Interesting.
And Green himself, his stated legacy, he says he wants to create more bold lions because he sees too many timid hares. That's his phrase.
Wow. Bold lions versus timid hares. That really sets a tone.
It really does.
Mm.
And it sets up our whole deep dive into his thinking on the modern world.
And he definitely seems concerned about the modern landscape. He talks about a crisis of confidence, especially among young people, young men.
Yeah, an epidemic of anxiety, he calls it.
Mm.
And sure, he links it to things like Jonathan Haidt talks about smartphones, social media, that whole thing.
Right.
But he also mentions other factors, like the 2008 crash, COVID, things that compound it.
But he puts it in perspective too, right?
He does. He's quick to point out, every generation has its crises. His own parents lived through the Great Depression, World War II.
So it's tough now, but maybe not uniquely tough in human history.
That seems to be his point. Our challenges are real, but facing upheaval isn't new.
Okay, so when he looks at today's challenges, what does he really zero in on?
Social media. He
Yeah.
calls it the nuclear option for our natural tendency towards conformity, towards tribalism.
Nuclear option, that's strong. How so?
Well, think about it. We're constantly seeing what everyone else is doing, thinking, liking.
The comparison trap.
Exactly, this constant loop of external validation. And he argues it makes us lose touch with our own unique identity.
So the consequences, we become more timid.
More timid, yeah. More conformist, scared to stand out, scared to have an unpopular opinion. It's like your inner voice just gets completely drowned out.
Muffled by the noise.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to what he calls a profound self-alienation. You actually lose sight of what makes you you.
That's pretty concerning. And then he brings up AI too, right? As another threat.
Oh, absolutely. If social media is bad, he seems even more worried about AI's effect on our brains.
How so?
He thinks it'll make us lazy. Why bother thinking critically if AI can summarize? Why do math? Why learn a language if you've got instant translation?
Convenience becomes a crutch.
Right. And he feels this neutralizing effect on our brains. It diminishes our confidence in our own thinking. And eventually, he thinks humans could become marginalized as AI takes over these cognitive jobs.
Okay, so social media erodes identity, AI erodes cognition. What's the way out? Where does Green say true power lies?
Well, this is his core message, really. Your power, your success. Think Elon Musk. Think any real innovator comes from being different, from mining what makes you unique.
Going against the grain.
Exactly. Risking embarrassment sometimes, holding opinions others might hate. Because if you're just conforming,
You're replaceable.
that's his point. You're easily replaceable. Real power is in that unique angle, that thing only you can bring. He even used his first book, The 48 Laws of Power, as an example. Super unconventional. People call it amoral.
But it was authentic to him.
Right. And that fearlessness, he believes, is why it sold like 8 million copies. It tapped into something real, even if it was controversial.
Okay, but that takes courage. What about the fear of failure that stops so many people?
Yes, he tackles that head on. His own life is kind of exhibit A.
50 or 60 jobs?
Yeah, he talks about having 50, 60 jobs, failing repeatedly as a writer, screenwriter, journalist, novelist. He literally called himself a failure for years.
Wow. That's a lot of persistence. It really pushes back against wanting instant success.
Totally. And he says every single failure was a lesson. He brought up Henry Ford, too. Failed 3 times trying to start his car company before finally succeeding. Learned each time.
It's like that Wayne Gretzky quote.
You miss 100% of the shots you never take.
Yeah.
Or Michael Jordan missing thousands of shots but still making more than most. You have to try, and you will fail sometimes. That's how growth happens.
So failure isn't the end, it's part of the process.
Precisely. And this connects to another big idea of his. Yeah. He really challenges this whole obsession with genius or God-given talent.
He doesn't buy it.
Not really. He thinks it's more egalitarian. Like, everyone's born with some kind of talent, some unique inclination. The difference is whether you mine it, whether you put in the work.
So it's less about innate gifts and more about effort. Can you give examples?
Yeah, he gave some great ones. Temple Grandin, severe autism, considered non-functional as a kid. But her deep love for animals, her unique perspective, made her a top scientist in animal behavior.
Incredible.
Or Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously talented, right? But his former teammate, Phil Neville, said what really set him apart was this insane work ethic.
Spending extra hours training.
Hours more than anyone else. Setting tricks on YouTube, then practicing them relentlessly.
Yeah.
That was the differentiator, according to Neville, not just the raw talent.
So the work ethic amplified the talent.
Massively. And you see it elsewhere. Mozart, we think genius, right? But he was practicing intensely from age 3, had his 10,000 hours in by age 10.
Yep.
Einstein spent a decade, 10 years, focused work developing relativity. The Beatles honed their craft, playing thousands of gigs in Hamburg. Non-stop playing.
It was an overnight success for any of them.
Not at all. He even mentioned Cesar Rodriguez, the last U.S. Air Force ace pilot. Started out one of the worst in his class.
Really?
Yeah. But he just outworked everyone. Countless hours in the simulator, he beat the Golden Boys through sheer grind. And 50 Cent, again, sure, musical talent, but also an incredibly hard work ethic and understanding the business side, too.
So the common thread is this relentless dedication.
Absolutely. Which leads him to another really strong point. You cannot think of yourself as a victim.
That's a tough message for some.
It is, but he's firm. He says that mindset becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It strips you of your agency, your power to act.
And he contrasts modern complaints with past hardships.
Yeah, like World War I, the Depression, World War II. Again, putting things in perspective. He specifically addressed the crisis young men face today with masculinity being culturally debated.
Right.
His point wasn't to dismiss the challenges, but to say true masculinity, true strength, has to come from inside you. You can't let shifting cultural winds dictate your sense of self.
And complaining, especially online.
Put you 3 steps behind, he says. It essentially guarantees your own failure because you're focused on blame, not action. He mentioned that D.H. Lawrence poem, Self-Pity, about how destructive it is. It's odd how society sometimes seems to celebrate weakness now.
Which connects to his ideas on masculinity,
right?
True versus toxic.
Exactly. He draws a sharp line. He sees that performative, loud masculinity, he mentioned Andrew Tate as an example, as often masking deep inner weakness and insecurity. It's about putting others down to feel big versus a quiet inner strength. He talked about old-school icons like Gary Cooper, Montgomery Clift. They embody this secure, respectful inner quality. That, for Green, is true masculinity, not performative, but inherent.
Okay, so that's individual power. Does he talk about leadership? Using power for good?
He did. He looked at historical figures. Abraham Lincoln was a key example.
Complex guy, Lincoln.
Very. Melancholic, poetic soul. But with this incredibly wise long-term vision during the Civil War, keep the Union together. He could handle unbelievable criticism without getting knocked off course. Understood consequences. Strong, but quiet about it.
Who else?
Churchill. Famously a laughingstock earlier on. But his conviction against Hitler, when others were wavering, was immense. He stood firm.
Real resolve.
And Nelson Mandela. Imagine, 27 years in prison, then coming out preaching unity and peace, not revenge, prioritizing the greater good of South Africa. That's extraordinary inner strength.
It's hard to imagine leaders today having that kind of insulation from the noise, maybe.
That's what Green seemed to imply. The constant media scrutiny, the social media pile-ons,
Yeah.
makes it incredibly hard to trust your gut and stick to a long-term vision. So many forces pulling you.
And Green applies this kind of nuanced thinking to current events, too. I heard he spoke about the Gaza conflict.
He did, and it was quite profound, actually. He talked about his ability to see both sides, which cuts from his own background. Well, he grew up Jewish, had this early idealism about Israel, the kibbutz movement. But later, he had deep interactions with Palestinians, really understood their perspective, their sadness, the hopelessness he saw in their situation.
So he has empathy for both sides.
Deeply. He feels the current situation is not fair, not just, and actually goes against the ideals of Judaism he was raised with.
And his conclusion?
Logically, he says, a two-state solution is the only way. He sees Israelis and Palestinians as fundamentally the same blood, brothers and sisters. The division, he says, is only in our heads. It's completely irrational. A really powerful call for sanity based on his own journey.
Wow. That takes us from personal power right up to global conflict.
But the final lesson was even more personal for him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
His stroke.
Yeah, that was clearly the most impactful lesson he shared. It happened in 2018. Started with a wasp sting, bizarrely.
A wasp sting led to a stroke.
Led to a blood clot, then a coma. And when he woke up, he'd lost a lot of physical ability. Things central to his life, swimming, mountain biking, hiking, gone.
Devastating.
Absolutely horrifying for him. But he talked about fighting off the self-pity, channeling that energy into his writing, realizing what a gift it was that his brain still worked, that he could still think, still create.
And the message from that.
Radical gratitude. Don't take anything for granted. Your body, your abilities, this moment, right now. It can all disappear in a moment. It really underscores that old saying.
Live every day as if it's your last.
Because one day you'll be right. Exactly.
What a journey we've covered today. Really powerful stuff from Robert Greene. We went from this crisis of confidence, social media's impact.
Right, to finding your unique power, learning from failure, the importance of sheer work ethic over just talent.
Tackling the victim mentality, understanding real versus fake strength, looking at leaders like Lincoln, Mandela.
Yeah, and even applying that lens to something as complex as Gaza. And finally, that incredibly personal lesson about gratitude from his own near-death experience.
So this deep dive, hopefully it's given you a shortcut to understanding some really complex ideas about success, resilience, finding your way in the world today, some clarity maybe.
Definitely food for thought, which leads us to a final thing for you to mull over.
Yeah.
Building on Greene's stroke experience and that idea of radical gratitude. If everything you rely on, everything you cherish, could genuinely be gone tomorrow, how does that change what you prioritize, what you put effort into, how you appreciate things today?
That's a heavy one. We encourage you to reflect on that. Think about your own unique talents, maybe your own relationship with failure, and what moments or abilities you might be taking for granted right now.